The idea is to build a justice system that's simpler and more efficient.
People at protests tell us, well done, you know how to defend yourselves, so you'll know how to defend us.
If people don't trust the justice system anymore, then justice is dead.
Welcome to a new edition. I'm Nadia Sharbi, and this week we're putting the focus on France's justice system. You find us this week outside the new Paris courthouse. Located in the north of the capital, this 160-metre tall skyscraper was designed by the studio of famed architect Renzo Piano and is Europe's largest law complex. A vertical city that reunites under one roof the various activities of Paris's justice system. But look behind the shiny new facade and you'll find a profession that's up in arms. The government's controversial pension reform plan has led even lawyers to go on a rare national strike. Take a look.
It's a scene that's played out in towns across France. Lawyers gathered in front of their local courthouse, throwing their robes to the floor, a symbolic gesture to signal their anger at the government's planned reforms to their pensions. The same sentiment is behind this protest sign, unfurled over a bridge 70 meters above the ground.
The idea is that it symbolizes a big leap into the unknown, like the planned government reforms to our pensions.
By changing the pension scheme for lawyers earning less than 40,000 euros a year, the reform will double the cost of contributions, from 14 to 28%. And bring down the lowest minimum retirement pension significantly.
It means 400 euros less each month until the end of my career. And then when I retire, I will have 400 euros less in my pension. I will only have 1,000 euros a month after all this work.
Many lawyers are worried they'll have to put up their fees, penalising their less well-off clients. Some estimates say that around 40% of law firms would have to close, creating judicial deserts across parts of the country. Many who are against the reforms have joined the strike that began a month and a half ago. As a profession, lawyers have been one of the pillars of the strikes against the government's planned pension reforms.
Well, the walkout over pension reform is just the tip of the iceberg. Since 2018, the government has been making its case to radically review and streamline the French judiciary, much to the disquiet of both lawyers and magistrates who warn against a dehumanised two-tier system.
Slow, bulky and inefficient, France's justice system has long been criticised. Several governments have tried to shake things up. The most recent plan for reform was put forward by the current Justice Minister in 2018.
This project aims to build a more conciliatory justice system by developing alternative ways to resolve disputes, by opting for conciliation and mediation.
The reform encourages mediation in a bid to reduce the number of court hearings and has streamlined the civil jurisdiction system. Before the reform, France's judicial courts for civil cases, including divorce and neighbour disputes, were divided into two tiers. As of the 1st of January, they've been merged into what are now called courts of justice. With 449 courts now cut down to 164, lawyers fear the merge will make the justice system less accessible.
Experience has shown that a court hearing is essential, no matter what the dispute is. The truth can be revealed during a hearing. I think that in order for people to adhere to the justice system, people must feel that they're being listened to. If people no longer have faith in the justice system, well, justice is dead.
Another bone of contention is provisional enforcement. Until now, all cases heard at first instance could go to the Court of Appeal without a judgment being enforced. 50% of judgments are overturned in the Court of Appeal. The reform aims to speed up the justice process and wants judgments issued at first instance to be enforced before an appeal is made. That would mean a person ordered to pay damages would have to pay immediately before the verdict from the Court of Appeal.
Enforcement could discourage appeals. We're not even sure about being able to go back to the initial situation or rectifying a judgment. There's something very final about enforcement.
France's Bar Council has denounced what it says is a rushed-through reform. It has also expressed concern about the lack of investment in the justice system. In response, the Justice Minister has highlighted a boost in the justice system's budget, a 25% increase over 5 years and the creation of 6,500 jobs. But those against the reform believe that much of this money will go to prisons rather than judicial institutions.
For more, we've come to Paris's historic seat of justice on the Ile de la Cité, which continues to house the country's criminal court, court of appeals, and Supreme Court. And I'm here to meet the chairman of the Paris Bar Association. Maître Olivier Cousy, hello.
Hi.
Given the caseload, the delays, the cost, does the French system not need reform?
The main difficulty today is that courts are struggling with the caseload because they simply don't have the necessary means. No one's saying that the system doesn't need to evolve, that we can't improve or use modern tools. French lawyers are ready to work on all those things, but it needs to happen at a reasonable pace. This reform requires a number of structural changes. Take referrals, for example. They used to go to high courts, but that is now merged with the district court. And that type of significant change was decided on December 19th and set in motion on the 1st of January. So how can you expect lawyers to adapt so quickly to such deep changes that affect the way they work and involve a number of risks from a professional point of view?
Now, you just mentioned the need for modern tools. What do you make of the digitalization of justice?
Digitalization can mean a number of things. It can be about transferring case file material, subpoenas. We've seen some progress, not enough perhaps, but at least it's a natural progression. And digitalization can also refer to the risk that comes with using tools such as video conferences. In other words, getting someone to testify remotely. From a purely technical point of view, it just doesn't work. And secondly, it's dangerous because we lose the essential human touch. There are cases for which it's essential to hear and see a person in the flesh.
And when lawyers take to the streets, do they enjoy public support or do they have a rather negative image here in France?
It's funny because when lawyers rally in their gowns, it certainly makes an impression. And of course, lawyers have a certain legitimacy. When they take a stand on an issue, people listen. And when we talk to people in the streets during marches, they say, well done, you know how to defend your case. That means you'll know how to defend ours.
Is being a lawyer in France as lucrative as you might imagine?
No. When you pay a lawyer, say 120 euros, 20 euros of that is VAT, and 80 goes towards expenses and labor-related contributions, which means the lawyer is getting around 20 euros. And then, obviously, they have to pay taxes on top of that as well. So this idea that lawyers are all wealthy isn't really fair. Half of French lawyers declare earnings of less than 40,000 euros a year, and in Paris it's 30% of lawyers who are in that situation.
And so what are the other main challenges faced by your profession today?
For the Paris Bar, the main challenge is to allow lawyers to use digital tools within a sound framework. Because let's not forget that there are security and confidentiality issues. And the other thing is that Paris is an international platform, which is all the more true in the wake of Brexit. So Parisian law firms need to be given the means to grow and export their name and know-how abroad, but also to hire foreign lawyers. We need a positive impulse for Paris to reach the next level.
Olivier Cousy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, as the French justice system is going through trying times, there's another key issue that needs addressing, and that's the discrimination and difficulties faced by women lawyers who are leaving the profession in droves and are pleading for a review of their situation. Here's why.
Émilie Duret passed the bar exam 10 years ago, determined to become a lawyer to tackle discriminations. But little did she know, she too was about to experience it from her male counterparts. She says the legal profession is still headed by an older generation of men who underestimate women's abilities.
I experienced discrimination from male colleagues, but also from the clients of the lawyer I was working for as a paralegal. who would refer to us as assistants, helpers, but never as actual lawyers.
An estimated 30% of women lawyers quit their work before reaching the 10-year mark. There are many reasons for that, both personal and professional, but many argue that motherhood discrimination is one of the main factors pushing them out of the job. Law firms underpay their female employees and thwart their advancement because they anticipate career interruptions. A situation Valérie experienced when she returned from her maternity leave in 2010.
After only 2 days, my boss told me he'd be annoyed if I were to leave every day at 7 p.m. I was supposed to be promoted as associate even before my pregnancy, and then he started insinuating that my priorities had changed.
Valérie eventually started her own firm and created an NGO to help returning female associates. The maternity wall in the legal profession has recently been exposed in a study. Fewer women are indeed promoted to the status of associate, and figures show that the gender pay gap widens as early as 30 years old.
When lawyers start out, their salaries are equivalent, and they become the same again later on, at around 55 years old. But starting at 30 until 50, the gap widens, and men earn almost double what women make. It's deeply anchored in our society as an unconscious bias that women's work is worth less, and that needs to change.
Some say the profession is changing. Several positive actions have recently been initiated by law firms to promote professional equality, and a greater number of women now hold senior judiciary positions.
And with that, the jury's out on this edition. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to France 24.